Let's take a close look at what is being said here by Jay Ronald. This is, in my opinion, probably one of the most important things about the Xbox ecosystem that caught my attention. After having played on Steam's ecosystem for a while, I looked at the Xbox ecosystem back then and was like, all I'm going to use is Game Bar and capture footage and do all of these things. However, it started to become a lot more apparent that this company is looking at a value proposition like Steam has been. And in my opinion, they're very serious about it. Now, what was crazy is I thought they were following Steam in, a huge number of stuff, but not realizing that Xbox has been doing this for a very long time. Again, this is, in my opinion, something that I think really speaks in a strong way. Now, this gentleman over here, Khalif Positively Peddler Adams, said, I hope this does not sound like astroturfing. Laugh emoji. He threw shots there. But I really do think that Xbox is nailing this part of this generation. Cross progression, for me, is one of the smartest, most useful features to double down on, and we're at the point where it just works. I remember sitting in on that Team Sweeney Dice town hall where he spoke of wanting to see the removal of walled gardens, and we're basically here now with games moving platforms, crossplay, and cross progression. At the end of the day, players have more choice and more ways to play, and that is good. Now, let's listen to what he said here, because I think this is basically going to go ahead and crown the whole conversation.
When you really think about like modern gamers, people that are used to Spotify or Netflix and whatnot, it's this notion of I want my library of games to come along with me wherever I go. And so when we launched it, this was really that first recognition of player behaviors are changing. And so when you buy the game on, say, your console or your PC, the game and the DLC is accessible to you on your console, on your PC, on gaming handhelds where it's supported. And even as we're starting to expand more and more into the cloud, I can now stream that game from anywhere. Not only is it about being able to play the game across multiple screens, it's really about ensuring that my progress moves forward with me. There's nothing more frustrating than maybe you start a game on your console and then you go launch the game on a PC and it's like, welcome new player. And it's like, wait, I already have like a level 40 character, or I've already gone through multiple levels, or I'm like hours deep into the lore.
This cannot be overstated. This right here cannot be overstated, because I remember when Gotham Knights came out, I don't know if many of you were following, but Gotham Knights showed up and a lot of people were talking about the console and the PC side, and I wanted to play the game a little early, so I dived in. I said, you know what? Let me go get the Xbox version of this game. Had I known, I'd have just bought one copy. I remember buying it and going, man, these console games are freaking expensive. I made a video whining about it, but I got the Steam version, okay? But here's the surprising thing. I remember the game came out on Game Pass, and I was like, let me play the game on Game Pass. And I didn't realize that I owned it, because Warner Brothers was signing up some of its games for Play Anywhere. And so that one copy that I bought that I was whining about ended up being what kept the gameplay and longevity from me, because my Steam version bugged out. Like, I guess they did an update, the build, or maybe my game build is just as a place where if I take down an enemy, it doesn't know what to do with my XP, so it shuts down the game. That's what happens. There's nothing I can do. I've tried all my progress. I'm level 80 here. So what I did was I immediately picked it up and was playing on Game Pass. When the game was going off of Game Pass, I was like, let me go ahead and buy the game. And I found out I couldn't buy the game because I owned the game. And guess what? All that progress that I basically built up on the Xbox console, when I was actually showing the difference between 30 FPS and the 60 FPS version, it was already there for me. That's when I was like, okay, these guys are serious. And if they can continue to rope more developers into this ecosystem, it makes sense. In fact, at some point, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if many of you remember, I was talking about potentially going to buy Starfield, on Steam, because I want to maintain a Steam library and so on and so forth. But to be very honest, I don't see any reason why I should even bother and be under any pressure to buy a copy of Starfield when I could just wait for a deep sale. I'm talking forget it sale. Use my Game Pass to continue to play and try out new games, and games that I may like. I buy them if I like them here, if I like them on Steam, like I did. But at the end of the day, there's just a benefit for me, the gamer, to be able to leverage all of this stuff, which these ecosystems put in front of me. And I think this really does break that narrative. It breaks the hegemony that, oh, Xbox is not doing anything right or whatever it is. They've always been doing this stuff. And even those of us on the Steam side, when we look at the Xbox ecosystem, we look and say, interesting. This is just like home. It feels like home. Like and Steam goes insane integration. Like it's stupid integration. Let me show you something on Steam that many of you may or may not know. For instance, I want to download the game. Let me find a game here to download for y'all. All right, Lords of the Fallen. I have it installed on another PC and I can stream it from here. But if I choose to go ahead and install the game on this PC, it does something really interesting. It can transfer. If you look on the bottom, it says transferring my files from that PC to this PC. Now, sometimes I stop the transfer because it's a little slower. But the integration is what I'm trying to show you is actually pretty cool. That when I moved to Xbox and started seeing things like, oh, you can pretty much go ahead and power on your console. I can click this little thing here and it connects to my Xbox Series console. If the console is on, I'll be able to go in there and play my Xbox games remotely through my desktop app. Things that you'll see on the Steam ecosystem. Even PlayStation used to have this, but I remember having a lot of trouble trying to fire it up. But I also, was a little wowed by the fact that Xbox is taking this approach to its own ecosystem. Even though it's unique, it's not the same as, Steam. But to me, it's very cool to show up and see it. You feel me?
Like, I want my game progress to move across screens with me.
Yeah.
So whether that's my game saves, whether that's leaderboards, that's achievements, it's really about making sure that the library moves with me anywhere that I want to go. And not only is it good for players, it's also good for developers as well. Because when we look at data for titles that are Xbox Play Anywhere enabled, these titles get 20% more gameplay because it's more flexible, because I can play on the go.
Yeah.
And like I mentioned earlier, I'm playing Ninja Gaiden 2. I started that on my handheld when I was on a business trip. I got as far as I could, and then I got home, and then I was able to just pick up and resume exactly from where I was on my console. And it just really felt great to me.
Another game that actually has this perk to it, and I gotta try to remember so I can give credit where it is. It's weird. Is some of these games, like these fighting games, like Warner Brothers, you open a WB account, you link that account, and you have like an account linking going on. Now I know people say, games have to be connected online, blah, 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 but there's an offline side to Mortal Kombat 2. But if I noticed the other day, I think it was my brother. My brother, has an Xbox Series S, and he was like, oh, I have Mortal Kombat 1. I was like, oh, okay. So I got it. So we wanted to play, and I was like, well, maybe this thing will make me go ahead and start all over again. But then it just linked all my progress, and I can play on both, and just continue my progression through Combat League and all of that stuff. People underestimate how important this stuff is, but I think one thing that really, really got Tom Clancy's The Division in terms of basically putting the game in a very weird spot was the fact that it didn't have this capability at launch, and the developers never intended to go ahead and even put it in their game. They kept saying, it's going to be very hard. It's going to make things really, tough because of all the accounts and all that. And I was like, I guess, but ladies and gentlemen, they missed out on such a big opportunity, because for me to play The Division, I got to go out there and, jump on it and, get with my clan and get my PlayStation and turn it on and all that. And sometimes I wish I just had my progress already streamlined, if you get what I mean. And so these are some really little things that I think they could have done better.
So we're excited to announce that we have more than 1,000 Xbox Play Anywhere games as of today, and there's many, many more coming. Yeah, and I think about, like, for example, my son, he loves the Yakuza series.
Oh, nice.
So, like, the fact that he can play in his room, he can play in the console in the living room. If he's on the go and I let him borrow one of my handhelds, he's able to bring that along with him. So it's just really about, making sure that for those of us who really enjoy gaming as our primary form of entertainment, just making sure that that's always available at my fingertips wherever I may be.
I think they're scoring points here. Now, this doesn't mean I'm going to go be building all of my library on Xbox, because like I showed you, Steam already has that on tap. And all that progress, by the way, I just showed you it goes straight to my Steam Deck. So Xbox is following in extension of this via cloud and via other means and other services. And even the Xbox library will also go on my Steam Deck. Should I, install Windows, I still get that. So Xbox is basically going across the board with its own games. They're going to stand out. And it being a big publisher is also going to make it even stand out more. This even makes me go, you know what? Xbox, go ahead and buy those IPs from Ubisoft. I know I said that, you guys don't need IPs yet, but I've been in Ubisoft's pipeline for a minute, and I can tell you, if there's anybody I want to handle Tom Clancy, especially seeing how Ubi did not give us cross functionality. I had to create multiple accounts in different platforms to do different things. Yeah, I did. This is my second PC account on Uplay. I have one on PlayStation. I have one on Xbox. So at one point, I wanted to play with some friends in Xbox. It's like you have to go on there, then they have to basically help you level up. We kept telling the developers, even you're still going to sell the same number of copies. We'll buy the copy for the new platform. Just give us the progression. They were like, it's going to be too much work. And we were like, man, it's work that would have been absolutely worth it. All this time that the devs and Ubisoft Massive have been promising content and content hadn't come, cross progression would have kept the community grinding and waiting at this point in time. Perhaps they might have said, well, you may have to create a new account on that other platform because we don't want to go override your existing account. People would have given a little bit of concession. That way they could play with their friends and play with people because there's no cross play, if you get what I mean. Anyways, I think Jason Ronald is on point, man. I think whoever is spearheading this stuff within Xbox is doing a really, really solid job. I see them literally winning the hearts and minds of gamers that are on the console side, should they decide they want to maybe, in some sense, dip their toes outside of the Xbox ecosystem. I mean, Doc Dark is already an example. He's over here talking about, oh yeah, I can play my Xbox games on my PC. But all that progression that he's already, amassed from his Xbox, published and Xbox developed and owned titles, they just followed him straight to PC without any problem. Golly, Xbox basically checkmated their own community. So when you are about to leave the Xbox ecosystem, those of you that are in the Xbox ecosystem, which many of you are not going to go to PlayStation, you've already told me you won't. And you're more likely to get a gaming PC because you want this Xbox handheld and next iteration of high-end technology, right? Xbox is already waiting for you there. Talk about an ecosystem. This is why I told y'all, right? So when me, the PC guy, got to tell you guys, hey, they're cooking. Just wait for the food to start to materialize. And so now people are seeing it. They're like, oh, so this is what they're doing. Yes, it is what they're doing.
I do love that Xbox Play Anywhere is a core part of the vision of the future of Xbox. Like when you, as an employee, like believe in something wholeheartedly, to march to that tenet and beat of that drum is a lot easier. And it is just like maybe one of my favorite features we're working on, just in general, in terms of like access. You just said 1,000 titles, over 1,000. We got some new ones in the pipe coming, right? Like what's coming up next that's going to be in there? I think we have South of Midnight, for example, Doom coming, and I think Towerborn as well.
Exactly. And we're working with the best developers all across the world. And, we're just seeing a lot of support and momentum behind Xbox Play Anywhere. So even beyond the ones that you mentioned, many more Xbox Play Anywhere titles are being added to the catalog every single month. And
Man, I'm not going to lie. From someone who just showed you integration on Steam and the lack thereof on Ubisoft's, some of Ubisoft's games, and I have to be fair. They actually do have some cross progression stuff already implemented. Don't get me wrong. I was just talking about Ubisoft Massive with The Division. Ubisoft already has some cross progression stuff in place. I remember one for Assassin's Creed Valhalla. But for someone who's shown you that, I can tell you that this is certified W right here. No other way to put it, because they're following a pro-consumer stance. Talk to me in the comment section. Thanks for watching the video. Appreciate you all so much. Peace out.